Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. When Thomas Forrester walked off the private jet and onto the tarmac, his pulse thumping in time with the maelstrom of emotions he knew he was about to unleash, the city of Los Angeles felt more tense and electrified than ever before. With his well-tailored suit enveloping his body, Thomas carried not only himself, but also a lifetime of secrets, regrets, and plans that he had carried over time. Zones and oceans. Nothing in that legendary home could prepare anyone for the revelation Thomas was about to make. Even the Forrester estate looming in the horizon like a silent witness to decades of passion, treachery, and power struggles. It seemed as if fate itself had chosen to make him feel heavier with the seriousness of his task. With each step he took toward the front doors, he took a minute to breathe in the clean LA air, feeling the city's familiar pulse that never really slept, nor did the drama that had always characterized his family. He reflected on Brooke, whose heart appeared to be constantly moving and never really at rest. Hope, the bright light of the Forrester family, blissfully oblivious to the truth that would soon destroy the entire foundation of her life. And Ridge, the uncompromising patriarch, now older, but no less formidable. After years of calculations, observations, and comprehension of every minute change in the lives of those around him, Thomas had been waiting for this moment. From a distance, he had observed Hope's development into the strong, kind, and remarkably resilient woman she was, yet also as delicate as glass in the face of sudden reality. It was time now. His mind is elsewhere, racing with expectation, even though he is surrounded by the familiar aroma of luxury and polished wood as he enters the enormous entryway of Forrester Creations, unaware that the world she knew was about to alter forever. Hope was working across the estate, carefully planning a new fashion line presentation. With Steffi, light and airy, her laughter drifted through the hallways like a lovely wind chime, a sound that Thomas used to love, but now feared, because of the chaos it would soon clash with. Time seemed to stop, a heartbeat that seemed to go on forever. When he appeared and their eyes locked, Hope's grin wavered with a hint of astonishment and reserved trepidation in her voice. She said, "Thomas," with a slight, nearly undetectable tenseness in his jaw. He nodded. "Hope," he said plainly. But in that one word were all the secrets hidden away, all the untold stories, and the storm he was about to unleash. The revelation he was going to make required both solemnity and discretion. So he gestured for her to join him to the private study, away from prying eyes and ears. Hope felt the seriousness of his attitude and followed him, her pulse pounding. "What's wrong, Thomas? You look." The words failed to convey the worry that was suddenly sending shivers down her spine, and her voice trailed off. Taking a deep breath, Thomas's fingers clenched around a tiny envelope, its contents ready to tear apart the very story Hope had always told herself. "I hope you're looking for information about your life, family, and the truth about your paternity." The words sliced through the air like sharp knives, leaving behind a startled hush. Hope's face was filled with amazement as her eyes expanded. "Paternity, what do you say?" Tears threatened to flow as her voice faltered in a gesture that was more silent than words could express. Thomas gave her the envelope. "What appears to be true about your father is not what you believed or thought you knew." When Hope opened the envelope and saw the DNA results that would completely change the course of her life, her hands trembled. As the truth dawned on her, she looked over the paper, the characters glinting before her. A wave of emotions overtook her, leaving her momentarily immobile, including shock, uncertainty, fury, and a betrayal that was so painful that her mind was unable to grasp it all at once. Thomas observed her intently, the intricacy of the act reflected in the mix of joy and grief on his face. His solemn statement, "I hope your father is Thomas Forrester," hung in the air like a thundercloud. Not Liam, not the person you thought you were. She felt as though the room was closing in on her. Hope slid onto the closest chair, her face buried in her hands as tears fell uncontrollably, her legs giving way. All of a sudden, the universe and life she had experienced felt manufactured, based on deception upon deception. The Forrester family heard about this discovery like wildfire. Ridge had a visceral jolt that rocked him to his core when he heard Thomas's accusation. Brooke's hands shook and her face became pale as she tried to find any words at all to stop the wave of incredulity. The man he had thought of as his brother's kid, a child he loved as his own, was suddenly shown to be someone else. And Liam's face twisted in agony as the ground seemed to tilt beneath him. With tears in her eyes, Steffi held Hope's hand, wanting desperately to be her pillar of support, but helpless to protect her cousin from the truth. Normally a bastion of luxury and authority, the Forrester household was suddenly a whirlpool of emotions, where each member of the family questioned not just the past, but the fundamental basis of their identities. Hope, who was still crying, thought the floor had vanished beneath her. Her whole life had been a fabrication, a story created by the people she had most trusted. She was unable to understand how life could deceive her in this manner, and how the faces she had trusted and loved could be hiding such important truths. In the meantime, Thomas battled his own mixed feelings. He was aware of the suffering he was causing, even though he had spent years trying to find the truth and face the lies that had inched the Forrester family. The idea of Hope's suffering upset him, since he had once loved her in protective and paternal ways. But he also saw the need. Hope had a right to the facts, to the whole picture, no matter how terrible. He said, "I never wanted to hurt you, Hope," as he watched her fall apart. "However, you must identify yourself and your biological father." Hope raised her tear-streaked face and met his gaze, her eyes reflecting a mix of hurt, perplexity, and anger. With her voice shaking, she questioned, "Why? Why would anyone keep this from me? I've been living a lie my entire life." The weeks that followed were filled with conflict, disclosure, and broken confidence. Hope wanted answers from everyone, including the people who had influenced her early years, loved her, and supported her. Devastated, but forced to acknowledge his own part in the lie, Ridge acknowledged past errors, uncontrollable decisions, and instances where love, fear, and the need to protect had resulted in unimaginable secrets. With a look of guilt on her face, Brooke tried to justify, explain, and calm, but Hope was not yet able to hear her. In light of the fact that her identity and existence had been altered, every statement felt meaningless. Liam, the truth about her ancestry into harmony, despite being tense and full of unresolved animosity. Talks with Ridge helped the father and daughter come to terms with decisions, the implications of their actions, and the limits of human frailty. Though sadness and uncertainty persisted, Liam also tried to reinterpret his relationship with hope, realizing that love transcends biology as she faced her own uncertainties and anxieties over familial allegiance. Steffi remained her unwavering ally, providing assistance. The effects of Thomas's revelation reverberated throughout the Forrester globe as he remained in Los Angeles. In the wake of truth, alliances changed, hearts were broken, and then repaired, and the formerly distinct boundaries between friendship and family became hazy. Once a representation of unwavering optimism, Hope now had to rebuild her existence, reassembling identity, trust, and love from the fragments of decades of concealment. Even so, there was a gleam of empowerment amid the tears and suffering, a realization that truth, no matter how painful, presents the opportunity for development, healing, and a better understanding of oneself. One thing became evident in the grand halls of Forrester Creations, amid the echoes of footsteps and the murmurs of scandal. Thomas's return had not only permanently altered Hope's life, but it had also rocked the Forrester family to its foundation, leaving behind a landscape of heartbreak, revelation, and the unwavering hope that eventually the scars of the past could heal and make way for a more resilient and truthful future. With her pulse thumping and a flurry of emotions rowing within her, Hope strode into the opulent corridors of Forrester Creations. Anger, betrayal, and the crushing weight of knowing that her entire life had been based on lies were the main causes of her tears, which had not stopped but had instead grown hotter. Every memory, every joke, every lesson seemed tainted, twisted into a story that was not her own. She had trusted Ridge, loved Liam, relied on Brooke, and believed in the stability of the household she had grown up in. Ridge's private studies office doors loomed ahead, and she halted for a moment, gasping and knocked, her hand shaking. Her voice was harsh and cracked with a tremor of determination beneath the agony as she screamed, "Ridge, we need to talk." Startled by his daughter's unexpected arrival, Ridge glanced up from his paperwork to see the unadulterated agony on her face. His voice was hesitant, like he was speaking to a sleeping storm as he questioned, "Hope, what's wrong?" She entered with purpose, driven by the desire for confrontation, answers, and the truth. "Ridge, I know everything. I am aware of my father's true nature, about who I truly am," she yelled, her words piercing his meticulously preserved poise like knives. The weight of decades of secrets suddenly fell on Ridge, causing his face to lose its color. He had anticipated this day, but nothing could have prepared him for the rage and grief in his daughter's eyes, which were a mirror of the betrayal she had experienced. Hearing the rising shouts, Brooke hurried in, her face displaying shame and despair, as though she had foreseen this moment but was still unreasonably afraid of it. She started to say, "Hope, please, let's not." But Hope interrupted her, her eyes harsh and unyielding. "Don't, Brooke. You dare not try to console me. You've fabricated lies all my life to protect Ridge and everyone else, but never me. I'm expected to forgive myself for living in a world that wasn't mine." The DNA report crumpled slightly in her palms as she gripped it tightly, her hands shaking with a hint of sorrow and desperation. Brooke's voice grew softer. "I hope I never intended for you to experience such pain. We tried to keep you and everyone safe, but now I realize that it really made things worse." Hope's chuckle was hollow, a broken echo in the elaborate chamber. And it was cruel. Keep me safe, Brooke. From what? From being acquainted with my biological father. From being aware of my life's reality. Is that what you refer to as protection? Betrayal is what that is. That is dishonesty, Ridge. That's a lifetime of moments stolen.
How were you
able to? How were you all able to? Ridge bowed his head, his wide shoulders, bearing the weight of his remorse. He opened his mouth to defend and explain, but the words stuck in his throat and were insufficient to quell hope's emotional storm. I believed I was acting appropriately, he said. I never wanted to hurt you, in a strained voice that was laden with regret. Hope's tears clouded the edges of her vision as her eyes burned with rage and grief. The correct thing? Telling me the truth would have been the right thing to do. Respecting me would have been the proper thing to do, Rich, not control me.
as
You pretended to protect everyone else. Don't make me live a lie. Suddenly, Liam came into the room, his expression a mix of worry, shock, and sadness.
he was
Confronted with a daughter he had raised as his own, broken by revelations he had never anticipated. After hearing of the revelation and Thomas's explosive homecoming, he began hope.
But she
Struck him like a lightning bolt. Her rage in her eyes far more devastating than her words. You, Liam, don't even consider the possibility that I haven't thought of you, about the way you've been spending your life, thinking I was yours and you were my father.
What?
Prevented you from seeing the truth?
How?
Are you all unable to recognize the fragility of this reality? Liam's face flashed with regret and agony as his jaw
Tightened.
I hope I loved you as if you were my own. I still do. That cannot be altered. In every important way, you are my daughter. With a broken but unwavering voice, Hope stepped back and shook her head. That can't be changed by anything. Liam, everything is different.
Now.
My identity, my life, my memories, everything. Didn't you know, too?
It
Must have been obvious to you. Brooke. Ridge, you also allowed me to live a
lie.
Ridge's tone of vulnerability broke the tension when he finally spoke, his voice cracking. I hope I didn't want to hurt or lose you. We erred with what we
Knew.
We believed we were doing the best we could, but now I realize it wasn't sufficient. It was never sufficient. Hope's sorrow changed into agony and then into a strong determination that might break even the strongest hearts. She tried to channel the flood of emotions tearing her apart by clenching her fists and sinking her nails into her
Palms.
I need time.
I need room without
The lies. I need to know who I am.
I've